What's happening, everybody? All right, so I want to give you guys my experience with this Edelbrock AVS2 carburetor. This is on a very mild 400 small block Chevy combination. A cam is a little bit suspect, maybe an RV cam at most, but stock heads, you're looking at the AVS2 650 CFM carburetor. So first things first, make sure your timing is set. Make sure you don't have any exhaust leaks or anything like that, because if you're using a wideband like I was when I tuned this, an exhaust leak can cause a problem with the way that that thing's going to read. Now, with this truck, it's a 72 GMC C25, so it's a 3/4 ton. With this setup, the idle mixture screws, which are these right here, I think the factory setting is a turn and a half or maybe 2 turns out. This truck, to idle at about 14.0, 14.2 to 1 AFR, those needed to be out from completely seated about half a turn on both sides. The left side handles the left side, the right side handles the right side. So not very much away from the seat. And again, that was me checking everything and tuning this with an innovative LM2 wideband. Next thing that was mandatory for this AVS2 is you've got to get your step-up spring kit. Now, let me grab the card and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Sorry for this awesome videography here. So this is part number 1464, carburetor setup springs. And what it is you've got different springs here. I ended up running with the largest, or I should say the strongest spring here, the 8-inch spring. And what that is, let me give you guys a little bit better idea. Get my finger out of the shot. That's pretty professional. I've already loosened this up. You're going to use a T15, and these are just finger tight. You're going to move that door over a little bit, and this is going to be your needle and seat. Inside of this, I can't do this one-handed, but this is your spring cup. That's where the spring will go. This is your actual needle here. So what happens is during power mode, basically you're not wide open throttle, but you're also just basically tipping into the throttle. The spring, as you can see, will push up on this spring cup, which also, of course, pushes up on that needle valve, which pulls the needle valve out of the jet, lets the vehicle get more fuel. This 400 had a real flat spot. And when I say real flat spot, on tip-in throttle, I was seeing AFRs. Keep in mind, you need on power enrichment mode, in essence, you want to see AFRs maybe in the 12.0, 12.5 range. I was in the 16.5 range, which is to say it was incredibly lean. Not a good thing. So I went big or went home on this deal through the heaviest springs in the carburetor that came in the kit, and it made it absolutely perfect. Right at 12.0, 12.5 on power enrichment. It does not have anything to do with wide open throttle. Wide open throttle with this setup is right at 13.0. 12.8 to 13.2 is what it'll show on the wideband. So just fine for this application. But I wanted to show you guys this, and really a little bit more specifically, I wanted to illustrate this carburetor's performance in a larger engine. The carburetor out of the box seems to be set up more for a smaller engine. You can see that with the way this thing went so lean at power enrichment mode. It might be perfect for a 283, 289, or a mild 302, or a real mild 351, but for anything more than that, you will be looking at springs. Always validate your settings with either a vacuum gauge, but in this case, you would probably be best off with a wideband. If not, the trick will be to go with the heaviest spring, and if the heaviest spring fixes any flat spots, then you'll step down to the next spring. Again, in these step-up springs, again, I went with the plain on this 400, but you know, if you've got like a real mild 350, 7-inch may work well. It's hard to say exactly what spring comes in this kit, or I'm sorry, in this carburetor. It's kind of like a 5-inch spring, but the 5-inch spring and the stock spring really don't look or feel all that much the same. I think it might be more like a 4-inch. So again, very, I like to say it's leaning more towards those smaller engines. But at any rate, wanted to bring you guys up to speed with this AVS2. It works out to where the truck will idle at about 14.0-ish. Power enrichment goes around 12.0, and then wide open is at like 13.0, give or take, within that range, kind of a spectrum. So good carburetor. It is not for a high performance application. If you want something for high performance, I don't know that this would be the right one. But for a cruiser, something that you're going to be driving around on the street quite a bit, this is a really good carburetor. One other thing, this flapper door in the back on the secondaries, the stock setting is, and this is the set screw right here. That's the adjustment, the spring adjustment screw, basically sets the tension here. I believe the stock setting is, once you get this thing to just barely touch, I think it's 1 full turn. That's the way this one is set up. I've tried loosening it up, basically making this thing flop around, and it didn't really make any difference. So I'm putting it back to stock settings, and truck seems to like it. So she is a tire fryer, no doubt about it. She'll even with that carburetor. So there's the truck, just in general, so I can do this without busting my ass. Anyway, there she sits. But again, that's the setup, about 33, 34 degrees total timing, with about 12.5, 13 degrees initial with the HEI distributor. So they give about 20 degrees total mechanical advance. And with those springs and in this carburetor, she runs like a champ. So anyway, I hope that helps you out if you're thinking about an AVS2 and you've got a slightly larger engine. It'll work great, but you will have to get the springs, and really any hotter than what this 400 is, you would probably have to rejet it, at least in the secondaries. But check your chart. That'll tell you really where to go. But if you don't have a wide band, it's going to be tough getting these things dialed in just right, or any carburetor or any tuning for that matter. That's a wrap. Hopefully that helps you out. Adios.